by saying congratulations on the film. I've had a chance to sit down and watch it, and I absolutely loved it. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So, mate, tell us a little bit about how you first became involved with this film.
Yeah, of course. So in the film, I play Shane Collins, and the film, as you know, as you saw it, it's a pretty wild ride. Originally, the script came to me through a friend of mine, Nick Thurer, who's a producer on the project, and Nick and I had worked together on a film called Slapface back in 2019. Um, and so Nick brought me this script, and I, in the beginning, I gave some notes and I said, hey, like, I think you might want to look into this and look into that. And, as a friend, and I really didn't think anything of it. And then Nick and Barry J, the writer director, came back to me a couple months later, and they had made all the changes to the script. And Barry said, hey, Mike, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I want you to play Shane. And that offer, it scared me. And because, as you have seen now by watching the film, it's a really intense role and a really intense character. And so I said, hey, can I have a day to think about it? And I went back to Barry the next day, and I said, sure, I'll do it.
As you said, it's a very intense film. What was it about that scared you about it?
Well, I think I've played characters in the past that are, I guess, quote unquote, bad guys. On Days of Our Lives for 2 years, I was a manipulative bad guy, and on Teen Wolf, I was a bad guy, and even on Cloud Nine, I was a Disney Channel version of a bad guy. So I've been characters that have sort of, not been so nice in the past. But with this character, I had never gone to the extremes that I do in this, that Shane does. My character goes to in this film.
Yeah.
He's very hurt. He's very violent. He's full of hate and revenge, and he's a hurt person. And so I really had to go there in this film in order to do that story justice.
Yeah.
And above and beyond that, the emotional stuff, it was the physical stuff too. I gained 13 pounds as soon as I accepted the role. I started doing boxing classes several times a week leading up to filming. I had changed my diet and really started working out more and trying to gain muscle because that aspect also is so important to this character. He uses physicality and physical intimidation so much in the script that I had to sort of embody that at least a little bit more than I did in order for that to be truthful. So yeah, I push myself in that way as well.
People don't realize the toll that it has on an actor playing the bad guy, especially in a popular series like you did with Days of Our Lives and Teen Wolf. I remember having Michael Rosenbaum on the show once, and he said about the toll that playing Lex Luthor on Smallville had on him, even with like kids running away from him in public and things like that. What kind of toll have you been through playing those bad characters in the past, and is that part of the reason why you were a little bit worried about playing this character?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is every time that you play a bad guy that is a broken character, you sort of have to go there emotionally. And so there were many nights that I didn't get much sleep, being worried about the next day, or just trying to like live in as the character and live in some of that uncomfortability on set. And then later on, there were some days that it was kind of hard to shut that off and step out of it. And then also, I think specifically maybe with Days of Our Lives, the response to that character actually was surprising. He's a bad guy, and he hurts a lot of people on the show. But he also, and this is something that I tried to do with Shane in this movie, with my character on Days of Our Lives, at the end of the day, you understand where it's coming from and why he's doing some of these things, and you understand the pain, and that makes the character three-dimensional. At the end of the day, the audience can watch somebody do a bad thing, but the real three-dimensional characters, the ones that people connect to, are the ones where the audience can still see themselves in that character, still see themselves in that revenge or in that sadness or in that whatever emotional state. And I think that's what I try to do with Charlie on Days of Our Lives, and that's what I try to do with this character. And because of that, the response has been, of course, I have fans come up to me sometimes, and they're like, I hate what you did. I hate that you did this to this person or this and this, and especially in soaps, because sometimes soap fans don't separate reality from the actual show. So I've actually been yelled at in public for things that my character has done on the show, which is a whole other thing. But most of the response of that of Days of Our Lives, and also of this film, because with this film, with The Way Out, we premiered at the Burbank Film Festival last fall, and it was really well received. We won Best LGBT Feature. We won Best the Audience Award, which was across every genre, across every film at the festival, and we won both of those things. And so, the fan response to that was pretty positive too.
Definitely. I was going to ask that about fans, because we've got a long-running daytime soap here in Australia called Neighbours, and there's an actor in that called Stephen Dennis, who in the early days, his character was a really vile, bad character, and at one point he killed one of the most popular characters in the show, and he was talking about people spitting on him in the street after that. How do you deal with that? And like you said, did it make it feel a lot better when this film was received so well at those film festivals that you didn't have that hatred from the audience because of your character?
Yeah, I would hope that people can. Well, number one, if my character and a performance that I'm doing affects people in any sort of strong way, then that makes me happy, because that means that the performance is resonating with them in some way. Of course, I don't want to get spit on in the street.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think there have been times where, with this film, with other projects, where in the Q&A, or on social media, on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, people will sort of be like, "Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that?" And I have to remind people, like, "Hey, this is it's just a movie. It's just a show. It's not really me." But at the same time, I will go and defend good writing, because when writers and creators and directors and collaborators, when they try to create characters like this that are three-dimensional, that make you feel something, that make the audience angry, or, like you said, kill a really popular character, that's where good drama comes from. And that's what, if everybody was getting along and playing patty cake, and it wouldn't be, nobody would want to watch that. And so, I think that good drama has to have an element of, making you angry like that, or surprising you, or, killing a series regular or whatever, like doing things that are going to shake things up. I think it's the responsibility of creators and storytellers to do that.
Now, talking of the storytelling and the writing for The Way Out, you mentioned earlier that you worked with Barry and made some suggestions for some changes. The screenwriter in me has to ask, what were some of the changes that you suggested? Were they things that we ended up seeing on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, mainly, I'm trying to think back to some of the exact notes that I had, but mainly it was just to focus the script. I think in the beginning, the nice thing about this is that a lot of what's in the script is based loosely on Barry's own experience. So every step of the way, we were all able to talk to Barry and say, well, what about this? What about this? How did this feel? What happened here? And, and Barry was always a team player, and always down to sort of either explain where he's coming from or make the changes. So I think in the beginning, a lot of the notes were just to focus things down, and to, because Barry has such a life full of experiences, I think in the beginning he was trying to do too many things. And I said, well, Barry, we only have 2 hours with the audience, or whatever it ends up being. What do you want to say to them? And we came up with that, and then we trimmed everything down. So that was the first sort of step that we had to take. And then the second step we had to take was to infuse a lot of the emotional stuff into some of the dialogue, so that at the end of the day, you know emotionally where each character is coming from, to create sort of that humanity, so that it's not just a black and white, good and evil, bad guy, good guy kind of story.
Definitely. Now, as you said, this is a very, very intense film, and you've got some extremely intense scenes in here with various castmates. Tell us a little bit about what it was like filming those scenes, especially with Johnny. Like, how did you guys kind of go away from those scenes and calm back down? What was that experience like on the film?
Oh, everybody on this film. I mean, Johnny was fantastic to work with. Ashley was great. Sherry Shepard was great. Um, we all sort of had this understanding that this is a sensitive film, and we were going at it, especially some of the more emotional scenes, with sort of a safety net underneath us, and we all had this sort of respect for each other, and this understanding that we were gonna take risks and try things, and we were there for each other, especially Johnny and I, with some of the more emotional scenes and the more physical scenes. Our stunt coordinator was Mac Kerr, who he plays Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
So in and of himself, he's a badass. But I had already worked with him before on the film called Slapface, the same film that I worked with Nick Thurr on. And Mac did a great job at creating safety on set and really making us feel like we would choreograph the fight scenes, because every fight scene is like a dance. Your body moves here, somebody else's body moves there, and you get the movements down first, and then after that you add the aggression and the emotion and everything else. So Mac was great with Johnny and I in choreographing some of the fight scenes and making us feel safe, so that we did feel that we were capable of really going for it and being aggressive and everything else. And then Johnny and I think we had some time to hang out before we started filming, and we definitely developed a relationship and chemistry with each other. I remember before we started filming, we went to the gym, and immediately we go to the gym, and I start bossing Johnny around, and I'm like, we'll do this, and you could kind of already feel the relationship and the sort of the, like, between Shane and Alex and what was going to happen on set, especially when Shane is barking those workout orders and sort of telling him what to do. You could already sort of feel that in the gym between Johnny and I. And I think we knew what we were doing. I think we just immediately subscribed to, hey, this is going to be the next month of our lives as these characters. Let's just jump right in. And every step of the way, Johnny was a team player and ready to try different things. And I think it shows. I think there's an interesting dynamic between the two on screen.
Definitely. It definitely does show. Mike, I know we are running out of time very, very quickly, and you've been so generous with your time today. I guess to finish up, what would you like to say to people out there who are about to sit down and watch this amazing film?
Yeah, I think, I do love the horror film genre. I really, really do. And it's one of my favorites. And I think with this film in particular, the reason that I love that it's a horror film that deals with some of these issues is because I think sometimes only horror is the place where filmmakers can explore the dark sides of humanity like this, and themes like abuse and revenge and everything, and do it in a way that makes the audience feel engaged, but also keeps them at an arm's length, so that you can sort of go to the theater or turn it on in your home and get that escapism for 2 hours and feel some of these emotions, and then you can turn it off and go about your life and not have it linger too much. So I love the fact that this is a horror film, but it's almost like a drama with horror elements. And I think that for Barry, Barry J, our writer-director, for Barry, this is a cautionary tale on screen as to what abuse really does and how people sometimes cope with abuse. Johnny's character, Alex, copes with his abuse by hurting himself and turning to alcohol and everything else. My character, Shane, copes with his abuse by hurting the world, and he strikes out at everybody else, and he fights, and he's aggressive, and he gets revenge, and all these things. But off screen, it's sort of a success story because Barry J, our writer director, he's Barry from Barry's Boot Camp, which is a really popular gym franchise here in the States, and he has worked his way up from sort of struggling with alcohol abuse to now he's sober and he is a successful businessman and well on his way to becoming a successful writer director, and he's a fantastic guy to work with. And so I think off screen, this is a success story for Barry because he took some of this abuse and some of these bad things that happened to him, and he is showing in the film that abuse does not define you. If something bad happens to you in your life, that does not define you for the rest of your life. That's just something that you can use as fuel along your journey to get to where you want to be.